Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's February 22nd. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and looks like we bounced off the purple envelope band this sometime today, this evening or whatever. But definitely a range day. We bounced off the lows here. Um, we've been selling off here for multiple days, so no surprise that we maybe got a little consolidation, maybe setting up to bounce here. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't get on lower here before it's over, but looks like we at least had some consolidation today. It's just kind of a range day, and that's what it looks like on the chart. There was an FOMC meeting minutes today at 1 o'clock, so you needed to be out. Generally, for FOMC stuff, I would say by noon, but with this just being minutes, you don't have to be out that early, maybe 12:30. I'd be out probably by 12:30 lately. Usually a minutes may not, unless there's something that comes out that spooks the market. Usually the minutes are not that big a deal. They can be, but needless to say, I'd be with the environment we're in now, the volatility we're seeing, anything red that's economic related, I would be out prior to that news coming out. I don't care what it is. Even if it's something that's usually a no, doesn't affect the market at all. It seems to do it lately. So it's like the market's looking for any reason to go up or down. Whichever way it's going, it's looking for a reason to go the other direction. So just keep that in mind and be flat. But let's flip over and see the chart. See, it looks like just exactly like what we have here, a range type day. We had a big run up, a big run down, and then we recovered about half of that before it was over, before the close. So let's take a look. Here's that chart, and you can see if it weren't for this late afternoon rally, right back to kind of the middle of the range, would have ended another bearish day again. So we chopped around in this range. We broke out the bottom and failed, then broke out the top and failed, and then we broke out down here and failed again. Not a lot of trades here going into 2:30. Um, Not a lot of trades today, period. So this won't take long, but a lot of this choppiness, it's that you're unsure about. It's hard to really read, and of course you had to be out from um, I'd say from around 12 o'clock until I'm not sure what I marked here. What did I mark? I marked it from 12 o'clock. You might could trade to 12:30 on a day like this. I don't think there was anything in there really that changes. There might be a trade in there. We'll talk about it when we get to it if I see anything. I don't think there's anything there that you could trade really. There might have been a higher low here, but it's right into some resistance. Maybe you take it. We'll talk about it. But I'd at least be out by 12:30 for sure. But let's zoom in, take a look at everything, and take a look at the trades, and we'll wrap it up. I marked one up here. This is really, I think this is right before 7 o'clock. Really, it's a little bit early. You can see at 6:44. But if you were here, that's a nice two-legged move up with a second entry short. If you were here that far away from the EMA, you could take that trade. And then of course this one is just at 7, so that falls within our 7 o'clock window. Definitely take that one if you're sitting at your desk. It's a lower high, still way away from the EMA. And then we just kind of are chopping sideways. I don't really see anything in here that I like until you notice there's some support down here. But this was a little tricky, but notice you got a good bit of support. This is your midline, and we bounced off of it several times. So there's a good chance we could bounce off of it again, especially with this spiking channel down that had a break and a new low. And look how many times we tried to go lower there. And look at this big bullish bar. It's a little tricky, but it's one of those that you may catch an important low. We might make another leg up like this one. So it didn't happen. We tried. You can see prices really struggle to go higher. Got a break, move to a new high, and then it's off to the races down. I didn't mark this trade right here. You might have taken it as a lower high, but there's just a whole lot of support across there again. So I liked it better when we broke lower and you got a true reversal type failure right there. That's a failed second entry long on a reversal type pattern. That's where I liked entering. Unfortunately, you probably don't get a runner here. You get an easy scalp, and then it takes your stop out. But it drops on down, and then we're just chopping sideways again. This one's a little tricky. It's right off that possible trend line right there. It's a triple test. It's a very bearish bar that broke higher there. But we're not quite back to the EMA. We didn't quite get back to the midline. There's not much room to all it bounces right there, but there's still a good chance that we're going to the other side. So you may want to take that. If you're going to be a little aggressive, that's one you'd probably take. It's definitely a triple test. We traded down into this, so the odds are we'll probably trade it. We'll probably when prices are successful, they'll go lower. You just don't know if it'll break lower a little bit and come back and stop you out and then go lower. That's the problem right there. So marked it green with that triple test and such a good signal bar. I think it was worth trying to take it. It turns out to be a great move. You probably get a runner here. You get a couple of legs down, and then notice you actually fell out the low side. This was the overnight low, and of course I wouldn't take this one, especially when we just had another low. It's a pretty good move up. I'd wait on the higher low, which came here, and then I didn't mark that one because we're still below the support resistance. We're still a long way away from them. It's another one you could argue to be green, but I was a little leery of it. I wanted to wait on the reversal, which came here. And then it's not a perfect setup, but notice how it turns down, bounces off the support and goes higher. If it breaks above there, we're probably going higher. I like that as a failure reversal because most breakouts are going to fail. So, and that turned out to be another fairly nice move that you probably got a runner on. And then, of course, you get to move outside and it turns right back down. Unfortunately, you don't really get a good setup to go short there. And then we run down here and we make another little triple test. Again, way away from the EMA. Another nice signal bar. So maybe you take that one, but better off again, wait on the reversal. I'll mark this one blue this time. We're still below that support resistance, but if it breaks higher there, we're probably going to run. I mean, this thing should have gone lower this time if it was going to continue to go lower. And notice, too, you got the channel working down. You got the break, a very strong move to a new low. And then after 3 tries and then a failure, that's a second entry right there with a great signal bar. Guaranteed you're going to trap some traders there. And you can see how it shot up real fast. That's why I like that one. Turns out to be a really nice move. Again, you probably don't get a runner there. It pulls back. There's some reasons to consider this one because it does test the support resistance and it acts as support again. There's also a hidden second entry in there. So that's another one. And if you really look at it, it looks like a leg up, a little two-legged correction, and another leg up. So it kind of looks like 2 legs up with a two-legged correction in the middle. So another reason you might take that one. And then we're just chopping sideways again. I don't see anything long or short I like out of that. Break down, get a close, new low. And again, I just don't see anything here I like. That one's very tempting, but I'd want a lower high, and you just don't get it. And notice we're playing off a possible trend line. I drew that trend line up through here. But you're better off really playing the sideways stuff and seeing what happens. And I marked this one. Finally, we pushed higher here, pulled back. You got a first entry, then it tried to go lower and failed, and you get a second entry. I don't know that I enter on that engulfing bar. I'd wait to see how this closes, but if it breaks above there, it's probably going to go higher, and of course it does. It's still a little aggressive. And we actually get a spike and channel up, finally get a break and move to a new high. And I just don't see anything in here. I like to go higher. There is a higher low right here. It breaks lower and turns up. You've already got a break here, possibly in a new high if this channel's in play. And we're close, really close to the upper resistance up there. So we could turn down again from here. So it's just really hard to put a lot of faith in this higher low right here. It's a possibility. This one you could argue to be green. there's not much room there to the highs either, so that's the other problem. If you had a lot of room going higher there, maybe you take that one. And that takes us into, like I said, there's nothing else I really like there. You could look at this as a failure, but you're getting inside 12 o'clock, and I probably wouldn't take it. I'd wait, and of course you don't want to take anything in there. And it kind of settles down around 115. Again, I don't think I would try to go long right here. It turns out to be a good move, and I don't think I'd want to go short there. It's just a first entry, believe it or not. But notice what happens. You come down and you get a first entry long. It tries to go lower, and you get a second entry long. And you also get a second entry short with a relatively small signal bar. I mean, it's 6 ticks right at the key entry point. We've tried to go higher a few times there. I like that one. And again, that turns out to be a really nice move all the way back to the lows. And then we're just chopping along. We didn't bounce out of there, but we couldn't go lower. So you got to be real careful here. And of course, it does break lower and fail. It comes back and you get a second entry short, way away from the EMA here, and what was off the original trend line, looked like on this. So I like going short right there. Again, it's a relatively decent bar, only 9 ticks. And again, that's a really nice move. You don't really expect it's going to go lower here, but it does. And then we're just chopping along. And you don't want to be trying to go long down here, but you got to be careful going short as well. This one was tempting. It looks a little like a triple test, but that all looks like one move to me. So that's like the first test, second test. And you really didn't get a triple test to here, and there's no setup there, but there is a lower high when it breaks higher and turns down. You might trade this one on the engulfing bar since it's kind of up-down bars. There's a good chance we're headed back to the lows because we've been going from high to low to high to low, and that would give you 2 legs down. So, and really you could call that a first entry, second entry as well. So I like that one. Again, I wouldn't try to go long back into this trend line, even though that looks pretty good. I'd wait. It's getting late in the day. And you actually get a second entry here, but this is your signal bar. This is really close. It's like 3 tries to go higher. We're still way away from the EMA. Most breakouts are going to fail, even if only temporary. I mean, because it has a little bit of a lower high, it's a little sticky, so you're fudging the rules a little bit because technically this green one's a signal bar. But on the second entry right there, on a breakout of that, there's a good chance it's going to at least pull back to the EMA and maybe test that breakout area. And you can see that would have been a nice move. But so late in the day, I'd be real careful with it. So, and that got us into 230. So, and it looked like we were going to go lower, but you can see the market kind of rallied at the end there. Nothing I'd be interested in. You just can't trade that late in the day. So there was just nothing else in here that I was interested in. You got to get short off the highs or long off the lows. You don't want to be trying to go long in this because that's a pretty strong downtrend. Even though this was mostly a range day and there's a chance this could fail, you got to be real careful. So, but that's how I saw it today. Not much else you can say about it. It's just kind of a range day. And it looks like that on the daily chart. If we put in a temporary bottom or even a longer term bottom, we'll just have to see. We definitely have alleviated the overbought situation. Now we're getting towards being oversold, but we did bounce off the oversold area on the envelope bands today. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.